for over 70 years by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
WTIM. You're listening to the WTIM Morning Show on your information station, and the show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. I'm your host, Reed Kamai, and if you are someone who receives benefits from the Social Security Administration and you work, then the SSA has some reminders for you about reporting income and how that may affect your benefits. And here to talk about all of that is Jack Myers, a public affairs specialist with the Social Security Administration. Jack, good to talk to you today.
Thanks, Reed. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, it's always good to have you on. And let's get right into it. So for someone who receives disability benefits from Social Security, I would imagine there are some income reporting requirements when it comes to you folks and other agencies as well. When and how does someone do that?
Yeah, so if you get a disability-based benefit from Social Security, it is important that you let us know if you try to go back to work. We need to make sure that we're keeping track of your earnings and, making sure that you're still eligible for the disability programs. I think one of the things that is really important in that scenario, Reed, is that you first understand which disability program that you receive benefits from, because at Social Security offices, we administer two different disability programs. We have the Social Security Disability Program, and then we also have the Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, disability program. And those two are definitely different programs. The requirements are different from a non-medical perspective, at least. And then the income reporting is different as well, because we look at different types of income in terms of how they affect eligibility. For example, the Social Security Disability Program, or SSDI, is going to be payable to adults who are younger than full retirement age. You must have a history of working and paying into Social Security, or be eligible on the record of someone who does. Like, maybe you're a disabled adult child who became disabled prior to age 22 and could qualify on the record of a parent because you haven't married and you haven't been able to work substantially on your own. Or, some disabled widows or widowers might qualify on the earnings record of a deceased spouse. So nonetheless, any of those criteria, in order to qualify, you have to be what we call insured, meaning that you're working or somebody else was working, and that made you eligible for that disability program. That benefit is going to be based on that earnings history. And because of that, we don't really care about unearned income for Social Security disability. And what I mean by unearned income, a few examples would be like income of other people in your household, resources that you own, so assets, things like that don't really affect your SSDI or Social Security disability eligibility at all. The only thing we really care about from an income perspective for Social Security disability would be your own earned income. So if you are getting Social Security disability and you go to work, we need to know about that. That's what we need to know about for that program. On the flip side, though, the other program that we administer for disability is the SSI program, Supplemental Security Income. That's going to be payable to adults or children with disabilities, or it can be paid to people who are 65 or older, even if you don't have a disability. For that program, there is no work history that's required. You don't have to have worked and paid into Social Security to qualify for SSI, but it is a needs-based program. So what I mean by needs-based is you have to have low income and few assets in order to qualify. And because of that needs-based nature of the program, all income and relevant resource or asset changes must be reported. And that's going to include those changes that pertain to a spouse who lives with you, or parents who live with a minor child who receives SSI. Some examples would be wages, child support, unemployment. So those types of changes, if you're on SSI, especially wages, should be reported by the 6th day of the month after the month you get paid. So that's just kind of a breakdown of what type of programs we administer for disability, and then what type of income or asset changes would need to be reported to us.
All right, yeah, that's helpful in terms of what information's important and what the factors are for eligibility. Now in terms of actually reporting this information, taking the steps to communicate it, what do folks need to know about that?
Yeah, so great question. Again, with either program, your own earned income would need to be reported to us. So if you're on Social Security disability or you're on SSI disability, if you start to work, you would need to report that to us because we need to know about that. What you should do is contact Social Security by phone. So you can call us at 800-772-1213, or you can call the Springfield office at 877-279-9504. You're going to want to tell us, where you're working, the employer's address, the employer's identification number. So that's something you'll have to ask them for. And then give us an idea of, what kind of hours you'll be working per week, how much you're going to be paid per hour. Once you've made that initial report to us at Social Security, then you can go ahead and report those wages to us online if you want. And I should note also that if you're on SSI, maybe it's not you that's gone to work. Maybe you live with your spouse and they've started a new job. That same type of info should be reported. Or maybe your child receives SSI and you live in the household with them, so you've started a new job, so you need to report that to us. So, in whatever that scenario is, that same type of information should be reported to us. Once you've made that initial report, then you can go into your My Social Security account. So if it's you who receive benefits, you can go into your My Social Security account. You would then be able to report your wages to us right there within your account. You're not going to see that option before you make that initial report to Social Security, but once you've made that initial report to us, you'd have the option of reporting those wages to us monthly just by going into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov and then typing in what your monthly wages were. So that's really the easiest way to do it. And you can even do that for your spouse. So if you're getting SSI, for example, and you need to report your spouse's earnings to us, you could log into your own personal My Social Security account. If you've reported that that spouse started working and given us that employer identification number, you'll see the options to report their wages through your My Social Security account as well. So sometimes people get confused about that. Like, how do I do that report if it's not for me? Well, it's connected to your benefit. So you'd be able to report it through your personal My Social Security account.
Okay, so those are some ways to do that, and it sounds like you have a special app for reporting those wages. Is that true?
That's another option. So, that would kind of get into if you're on SSI. So if you're on SSI, there is the option to do it through the My Social Security account, just like there is through the if you're on Social Security disability. But you have another option of downloading a SSA mobile wage reporting app, and that's available Apple or Android, whichever platform you use. And then that again is just another option. There's also a telephone wage reporting option. So you could call 866-772-0953 and get set up for that. If you want, let's say you're driving right now and you can't take down a phone number, go to our website, ssa.gov, and under the SSI section, you could find information about wage reporting. But again, if whichever type of benefit you receive, you could do it through your My Social Security account as well once that initial report is made. And one thing I didn't mention, Reed, that I'll circle back to, I talked about how you do it, like if you're on SSI and you need to report wages for your spouse. But what if you are representative payee for your child, for example, who gets benefits, and you need to report wages? How do you do that? Well, you would do that through your own personal My Social Security account. So when you log into your My Social Security account, our system will recognize if you are payee for somebody else. So if you serve as payee for another person, when you log into your account, it will ask you, are you wanting to see information about yourself or about the person for whom you serve as payee? So if you choose the person for whom you serve as payee, then you would be presented with that option to report wages for them. Maybe you're reporting your own wages. Maybe you're reporting their wages, or maybe you're even reporting the other parent's wages. You could do all of that in that payee portal under your own personal My Social Security account. Again, as long as you've made that initial report to us over the phone that, hey, I'm working, or my child who gets Social Security or SSI is working, or a spouse, whomever it is that's working that you need to report. You tell us about it up front, including the employer identification number, and then you can go in through that My Social Security portal at ssa.gov and make those wage reports on a monthly basis. And it's super simple. It's way easier than having to send pay stubs to Social Security every month. People really seem to like it, and it helps us as well. It's much more efficient for us as well.
No, it sounds like it, and you've got some ways to communicate that income. I'm talking right now with Jack Myers, Public Affairs Specialist at the Social Security Administration. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation right here on the WTIM Morning Show on your information station.
Your information station, WTIM.
It's now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and Chicago wheat all slightly higher at this hour. July corn up 3/4, $4.10 September corn up 1 1/4, $4.19, and December corn 4.38 1/4, up a penny. July beans 11.17 3/4, up 3/4. August beans up 1 3/4, 11.25 3/4. November beans up 2.11 3/4. July Chicago wheat 5.91 1/2, up 4 3/4. July KC wheat 6.22 1/4, up 4. July bean meal 305.90, that's up $3. July bean oil down 61 cents, 69.98. Livestock trade, August feeders up 315, 371.30. June live cattle 255.90, up 75 cents. July lean hogs 94.30, up 7 cents. Energy market, August Brent crude oil 73.24, down 3.84.
Looking for comfortable, affordable senior living in Taylorville? Rolling Meadows Senior Living now has an accessible unit available, designed for adults 62 and older. Rolling Meadows offers a smoke-free community with controlled access and 24-hour maintenance. Enjoy spacious kitchens with full-size appliances, convenient on-site laundry, and Wi-Fi in common areas. Call 217-287-2450 today to schedule your appointment. Rolling Meadows Senior Living is sponsored by Lutheran Social Services of Illinois and funded in part by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and the Federal Home Loan Bank of Chicago. Rolling Meadows is an equal opportunity provider.
People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, are proud to continue their long-standing sponsorship of honoring Taylorville High School Students of the Month on WTIM's many platforms on AM, FM, and streamed online, and on WMKR Genuine Country 94.3.
Hi, my name is Sydney Brown. I'm the Freshman Student of the Month. My parents are Ryan and Lacey Brown. I'm involved in volleyball and Unified Tornadoes. My interests and hobbies would include reading and listening to music. My future plans are to continue going to school and become a radiology tech. My favorite subject is English. I've always had a passion to read and write a lot.
People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, salutes these great Taylorville High School students on this honor and wish them the best in their future. People's Bank and Trust, member FDIC.
Double your impact with sight and sound. Reach customers through our 6 regional radio stations, plus capture their attention with our 36 by 72-inch digital billboard right on Route 29 in Taylorville. That's nearly 11,000 drivers seeing your message every single day, while they're already listening to your radio ads. Ready to maximize your reach? Call your regional radio account manager today and put your business in front of eyes and ears across Central Illinois. Regional radio is where your message gets noticed.
WTIM.
We're back on the WTIM morning show on your information station. It's sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. I'm your host, Reed Kamai, and I continue my conversation with Jack Myers, a public affairs specialist at the Social Security Administration. We spent the first segment talking about income reporting for those who receive disability benefits from Social Security. As for folks who may not be receiving those particular kinds of benefits for disabilities, I'm curious if there are limits to how much those individuals can earn in that case, and how the reporting works there, and I'd love to know a little more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, Reed, and it's something that I often try hard to distinguish between, right? Because we want people to understand that if you get disability-based benefits, even if we're just talking Social Security, if we leave SSI out of it for a moment, because really with SSI, anytime you have income of any sort, we need to know about it. It could kind of fluctuate month to month because of the needs-based access of, or the needs-based nature of the SSI program. But with Social Security benefits, if you get disability-based Social Security, there's one set of rules, kind of surrounding earned income. If you get non-disability based earnings, such as retirement, spousal benefits, surviving spousal benefits, minor children's benefits, there's a totally different set of rules. So that's a very important subject to talk about. Basically, let's just take retirement, for example. A person becomes eligible potentially at age 62. You could start to collect your retirement benefits, but there would be an earnings limitation. So if you're wanting to start collecting Social Security and continue to work, you may be subject to a limit. And the first thing that we have to address is, well, how old are you? Because if you are at your full retirement age or older, there's no limit. You can work as much as you want, earn as much as you want, and you can still collect your Social Security benefits. So what is full retirement age? Well, that depends on when you were born. If you were born 1943 through 54, it's 66. If you were born 55 through 59, it's somewhere between 66 in 2 months and 66 in 10 months. And then if you were born 1960 or later, your full retirement age is going to be 67. So if you're full retirement age or older and you're collecting retirement benefits or some other non-disability based benefit from Social Security, you could work and earn as much as you want. It doesn't matter. You'd still be eligible for your Social Security benefits. If you are under that full retirement age, though, there is going to be a limit on how much earned income you can have if you want to collect Social Security. Now, the year you hit full retirement age, it gets a little tricky because that limit only pertains for the months prior to attainment of full retirement age, and it goes up quite a bit. So you've got a lot of options that year. But for the years that you are under for the full year, so like the year you turn 62, 63, 64, 65, for those years, you would be subject to a lower limit. And in 2026, that limit is $24,480. So if you wanted to work and you were 62 or 63 this year and you wanted to collect Social Security, if you earn more than $24,480, then the penalty would be $1 of Social Security would have to be returned for every $2 by which you exceed that limit. So, depending on where you come in, it may be pretty restrictive, or, it may not be that big a deal if you're working part-time. But I should note that this is only earned income. So unearned income is not subject to a limit. Your pension income, your Social Security benefits don't count towards that $24,480. And if you want to learn more about these limits and how the penalties work and all that kind of stuff, go to our website, ssa.gov, in the publications section, look for a publication called How Work Affects Your Benefits, and it will explain all that. That $24,480, that will probably change in 2027 because it usually does go up a little bit each year. But $24,480 is what we're looking at here as the limit in 2026 if you are under your full retirement age.
Yeah, so the full retirement age is a factor, it sounds like, and then that is a different age based on when you were born. So some folks might have to wait a little bit for that to apply to them. I've been speaking here with Jack Myers, Public Affairs Specialist at the Social Security Administration. Jack, thank you again for coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and thank you for listening to the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. We'll, of course, be back at it tomorrow. I hope you have a good day.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville.
96.1 FM Taylorville.
107.5 FM Shelbyville.
107.9 FM Pena Nokomis.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. Amit Thomason. The Senate has joined the House, passing a war powers resolution.
On this motion, the yeas are 50, the nays are 48. The concurrent motion is agreed to.
4 Republicans joining every Democrat voting for the resolution, which urges President Trump to get congressional approval